everybody, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. This is my Pan That palette update for the month of October, and this year I am panning my Shaaanxo The Remix palette from BH Cosmetics. This has been really fun to pan. I'm not trying to use up all of these shades entirely. That would be a little bit too crazy for me, but I am trying to hit pan on every single one of these 18 shades in this palette. This is a double-sided palette with 9 shades on one side and then 9 shades on the other. So I'm gonna go through each of these shades one by one and show you the progress from last month to this month, let you know how many times I've used them and see if I've met my goals. So if you're interested in seeing the progress on my Pan That palette this month, keep watching. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would love to have you in my little makeup community in this corner of the internet. Let's get right on into the video. Starting off with what I call side A, which is the original 9 shades of this palette before it became the remix palette. So here's what side A was looking like when I first brought it into the project in January. At that time, I had pan on Clarity, Holy Grail, Glow Baby, and Toasted. Here's what the palette was looking like last month with just 1 shade remaining yet to have pan on it, Terracotta. And here's what side A is looking like today. And let's just get that big exciting news right out of the way. You can see I now have pan on that last final shade, Terracotta, which means I have pan on every single one of these 9 shades. And I have 1 shade that's used up and another shade that is pretty close to being used up, Buttercup. So I'm very excited. This means I have officially hit my goal of hitting pan on every single one of these shades, which feels great. I feel like I can kind of relax a little bit now and just enjoy this palette for the last remaining months of this year. And I will be decluttering it when the year is up. It definitely got its use this year. So let's talk a little bit more about each of these shades and see what progress I've been able to make on them from last month to this month. My goal for this side of the palette was to use all the shimmers at least 4 times, and then I wanted to use each of the matte shades at least 10 times. So let's start off with Clarity. This one finished pretty quickly in this project months ago, and I finished Clarity after 79 uses, so we can move right on over to Holy Grail. Here's what Holy Grail was looking like last month. This was after 43 uses in the project. My goal was to reach for it 4 times. I was able to reach for it 7 times, making for 50 uses total, and here's Holy Grail today. And I'm hoping there'll be a slight little jump in the size of that pan, but as the story always is with this more highlight type shade, I'm using such a small amount of it that it goes pretty slowly, but I am very happy with the size of that pan so far, and if I can get it just a little bit bigger before the year is up, that is going to be great. A similar story too for Glow Baby. Here's what Glow Baby was looking like last month. This was after 32 uses in the project. I reached my 4 use goal, making for 36 uses total, and here's Glow Baby today. So you might not see as big of a jump as we saw with Holy Grail, but I'm just happy it's getting those uses, and we're just chipping away at it bit by bit. I was hoping to use these 2 shades as a face highlight during the course of this project, but they really don't sit nicely on the skin. They look a little bit chalky and heavy as a face highlight. So I abandoned that plan pretty quickly, but I have been using them as inner corner and on the lid here and there, and that's why I've been getting the uses on them. So both of those have a nice good sized pan. Probably won't get much bigger, but I'm okay with that. Moving on to probably the second most exciting update with Buttercup. Here's what Buttercup was looking like last month. This was after 81 uses in the project. My goal was to reach for it 10 times. I was actually able to reach for it 22 times, making for 103 uses total, and here's what Buttercup is looking like today. And I'm pretty darn sure we're going to see a big jump in Buttercup from last month to this month. I'm very happy with myself for getting as much use on this shade as I was able to this month. This has been my go-to transition shade almost every single day that I've done my makeup. It works for basically any eyeshadow look that I want to do. And I'm very hopeful that if I continue to reach for it with that amount of frequency, I should be able to finish this up in the next couple months. By the end of the year would be very exciting to have at least 2 empty shades in this palette before the year is up. So that is Buttercup, and I'm going to continue to go hard on that one and hopefully have some great progress for you by the next update. Moving on to Beach Babe. Here's what Beach Babe was looking like last month. This was after 39 uses in the project. Again, I reached my 4 use goal, making for 43 uses total, and here's Beach Babe today. And if you do see a difference in there, it's probably going to be very slight, even though I really am trying to concentrate around the edges of that pan to expand it as quickly as I can. 4 uses is just not going to get that satisfying jump from month to month. So I might amp up my use on that one a little bit in the next couple months to get a bigger pan on it, because I absolutely do love this shade, and I think it'll be a great shade to wear in the fall months. Moving on to Terracotta, our most exciting update for this month. Here's what Terracotta was looking like last month. This was after 39 uses in the project. project. My goal was to reach for it 10 times. I was able to reach for it 13 times, making for 52 uses total. And here's terracotta today. And as you can see, we were able to hit that pan after those 13 uses. I actually hit pan on this shade after the 7th use this month. So on the 46th use in this project total. And this was definitely more of a challenging shade for me. It's a very pigmented shade. As much as I love this warm terracotta brown, I just don't need a lot of that product to get the effect that I need on the eye. So it was a little bit slow going, but I knew that I would get there. And in fact, I did. It just took me chipping away at it month by month, using just a little bit diligently and consistently. And I knew that all that work would pay off with this beautiful reward of a shiny pan, and now the 9th pan on this side of the palette. So very excited about that. And I now have officially hit my goal of hitting pan on every single one of these shades. Again, I'm just so pleased that I was able to do that with several months to spare before this project is up. And now I can just kind of coast from here on out. So let's move on to that bottom row, Toasted. Here's what Toasted was looking like last month. This was after 20 uses in the project. My goal was to reach for it 4 times, and I hit that goal, making for 24 uses total. And here's Toasted today. And again, similar story with Beach Babe. I don't think you'll see much of a jump from those 4 uses, maybe a little bit. This is another shade that I absolutely love, and I would really like to focus in on it just a little bit more in the months of October, November, even December. This cool tone shimmer is good for any time of the year, and I think I can get a bigger jump on this before the year's up. Next shade in this row is Avocado. Here's what Avocado was looking like last month. This was after 26 uses in the project. Again, I met my 4 use goal on it, making for 30 uses total. And here's what Avocado is looking like today. And I think this is also going to have a similar story to Toasted and Beach Babe, where I am not going to see a big jump, but it's another one that I can see myself reaching for it a few more times to get a bigger jump by the next update. It's another beautiful shimmer shade, really beautiful all over the eye, super easy to wear and pair with other shades. So something that I could probably do some good work on before the year's up. And the last shade on this side of the palette is Silhouette, that black matte shade. Here's what Silhouette was looking like last month. This was after 39 uses in the project. My goal was to reach for it 10 times. I was only able to reach for it 5 times, making for 44 uses total. And here's what Silhouette is looking like today. And I don't think you'll see much of a difference with those 5 uses. I'm really only using this to smudge my gel eyeliner on the top of my lash line, just to kind of smoke it out a little bit, set down my pencil eyeliner, make sure it lasts all day. And this is also the only shade that I wasn't able to reach my goal for on this palette during the last month, which I'm okay with. I was 5 uses short on that one. I definitely could have met that 10 use goal, but I had other shades that I was working on as liner shades in different projects. So this one kind of fell by the wayside, but it has a pan and that's good enough for me. And I'll just try and get a few more uses on it each month before this year's up, but it's not one that I'm intending to focus on in the near future. So that is all for side A, but before we move on to side B, please enjoy all of the months of progress on side A from January up until today. Now for side B, the remix side of the Shaaanxo remix palette. Here's what side B was looking like when we started this project back in January. At that time, I had a pan in Dream Girl, Bestie, and Baby Girl. Here's what side B was looking like last month. As of last month, I had finally hit pan on that bottom middle shade Lover, and I had a pan on every single one of the shades on this side. And here's what side B is looking like today. And I'm hoping that we'll see some changes on side B from last month to this month. I have been reaching for these shades religiously and meeting all of my goals on them. So we'll see if that shows up in the progress videos that we're about to see. Because side B was my focus side for the first half of the year, in the second half of the year, I've kind of put it on the back burner a little bit, and my goal for each of these 9 shades was just to reach for them 3 times. And I knew that I was going to blow many of those goals out of the water, and some of them I would just barely meet. So let's start off with Island Glow. Here's what Island Glow was looking like last month. This was after 45 uses in the project. My goal was to reach for Island Glow at least 3 times. I was able to reach for it 9 times, making for 54 uses total, and here's what Island Glow is looking like today. And I think you'll see a slight little jump in the size of that pan. I really do focus around the edge of that pan when I reach for this. I'm using it as an inner corner highlight most times that I wear it, and I plan to continue to reach for it that way, but I don't think it'll get much bigger than what we're seeing today or what we're seeing on the other side in Glow Baby or Holy Grail. But I will enjoy reaching for it every single time that I do. Moving on to Need You. I'm hoping we'll see a nice jump with this one. Here's what Need You was looking like last month. This was after 85 uses in the project. My goal for Need You was to use it 3 times, but I knew I would far exceed that. I was able to reach for her 20 times, making for 105 uses total, and here's what Need You is looking like today. And I hope you see a jump after those 20 uses. Not only should the size of that pan be expanded, but there's also a big difference in the depth of the product in that pan. I've been using this as a contour shade almost every day that I do my makeup, and I go in with like a little bit of a fluffier brush with that, a big fluffy brush, not big for a face brush, but big for an eyeshadow, I would say. And that has really been wearing down the product around the edges of that pan. And I'm hoping that if I continue to reach for it that way, we should have a nice big pan on this before the year is up. I don't think I'll be able to use it up, but we will have a nice satisfying size for you by the end of the year. So let's move on to Dark Horse. Dark Horse has been my everyday eyebrow powder, and it's been working really well for that. Here's what Dark Horse was looking like last month. This was after 77 uses in the project. I was able to reach for the shade 23 times, making for exactly 100 uses total, and here's Dark Horse today. And again, I'm using such a small amount of product, so I don't think you'll see a big jump in the size of that pan, but I think you should notice some kind of difference with those 23 additional uses. And another one that I'm going to continue to use in the same way until this year is up, and we'll probably get a little bit bigger size of that pan, but nothing too dramatic. So let's move on to that second row and talk about Dream Girl. Here's what Dream Girl was looking like last month. This was after 35 uses in the project. I reached for it 6 times, making for 41 uses total, and here's what Dream Girl is looking like today. And you'll see, I think, a big difference in the size of that pan. A little bit of the product started to break apart and crumble, but I was able to use most of it. I don't think I lost much of the product. I've been using this as a blush, and it's just beautiful. It's a nice shimmery blush shade. I can put it over other blushes, use it on its own. I've also been using it as an eyeshadow, and I plan to continue reaching for it as much as I can and get a little bit bigger size before the year is up, but I'm pretty darn happy with where we are at today. So let's move on to Stalker. Here's what Stalker was looking like last month. This was after 37 uses in the project. I reached my 3-use goal, making for 40 uses total, and here's Stalker today. And I doubt you'll see much of a jump from last month to this month with just those 3 uses. These deep dark reds and pinks are definitely more of my challenge shades for the side of the palette. I've been wearing so many pinks this year that I'm definitely a little bit burnt out, but that's not going to stop me from continuing to get progress on these shades and try and expand them just a little bit while we still have time in this year. So let's move on to Vampette, which has, of course, another similar story since it's another deep red. Here's what Vampette was looking like last month. This was after 34 uses in the project. I reached my 3-use goal, making for 37 uses total, and here's what Vampette is looking like today. And I mostly use this as a liner topper or to just deepen out the outer corner, and it's quite a versatile shade. It can really pull like a nice maroony brown, more neutral when you need it to, or it can deepen up a more red or purpley look when you want to use it that way. So it actually can be a pretty easy shade to reach for, but I just have so many other deeper shades that I'm focusing on that this one kind of falls by the wayside, and I'm happy just to get those minimal uses in. So let's move on to that bottom row and talk about Bestie. Here's what Bestie was looking like last month. This was after 47 uses in the project. I reached my 3-use goal, making for 50 uses total, and here's what Bestie is looking like today. And I don't think you'll see much of a difference after those 3 uses. This is another shade that I use as a blush most times that I reach for it. I think I've maybe put it in my crease once or twice this past month, at least once, and those other 2 uses were as a blush, and it works great as a blush, but I'm just not going to get the nice noticeable difference by using it as a blush because we're going in with a big fluffy brush in there, and it's not going to wear away the product nearly as quickly as an eyeshadow brush would. But I am getting use on it, and I feel like that pan has a pretty nice size, and I'm happy with where it's at. So the next shade down here is Lover, our most recent pan in this side of the palette. Here's what Lover was looking like last month with that fresh pan. This was after 38 uses in the project. I reached my 3-use goal, making for 41 uses total, and here's what Lover's looking like today. And I think I actually might see a slight jump from last month to this month, because when I reach for this, it's always in my crease, and I'm using quite a bit of product when I reach for it. So even though I only use it 3 times, I'm hoping to see a little bit of a jump there, and I'm just happy it has a pan. So not expecting it to get very huge, but very happy that we have completed my goal on this side of the palette as well. So let's move on to that last shade, Baby Girl. Here's what Baby Girl was looking like last month. This was after 32 uses in the project. I reached that 3-use goal, making for 35 uses total, and here's Baby Girl today. And I think I wore this 1 time as a blush and the other 2 times as an eyeshadow, and I don't think you'll see much of a difference from last month to this month. But again, I'm just happy to be meeting that usage goal and chipping away at it a little bit each month and getting that product used up. So that is all for side B. But before we move on and talk about weight, please enjoy this montage of all the months of progress on this side of the palette from January up until today. I love tracking the weight of these palettes. It's so satisfying to see the amount of product I'm able to use over the course of the year. When I first brought this palette into this project, it was weighing 167.46 grams. As of last month, it was down to 161.75 grams. And today its weight is down to 160.61 grams. So in the past month, I have used over a gram. I've used 1.14 grams of product, which is a great jump for me. And in total, I am almost down 7 grams from this palette over the course of just 9 months. I believe it's been 9 months. Yeah, and we still have 3 more months to go. We're gonna have all of October, November, and December, and we're gonna wrap up this project in either the very end of December or the very beginning of January of 2025. As far as my goal goes for the remainder of the year on this palette, since I've already hit my goal of pan on every single one of these shades, I'm gonna relax just a little bit and really just focus on those shades that I know I can make great progress in the next couple months. For side A, I'm gonna use Holy Grail and Glow Baby at least 4 times, but I'm gonna up my uses on Beach Babe, Avocado, and Toasted to 6 uses each. I think I should be able to do that. And then for Buttercup, I'm gonna go hard. I'm gonna try and reach for Buttercup at least 20 times. Let's put Terracotta at 6 uses as well. And I think I can use Silhouette 6 uses as well. That's a lot of numbers there, but I'm kind of wanting to be specific on my goals here so that I can make the progress that I want to. And then for side B, I'm going to try and reach for Island Glow at least 5 times. Need You and Dark Horse, I know I can use at least 20 times. And then the rest of these shades, I'm just gonna put at 3 uses. I think that should be difficult, but not too difficult, and should give me a little bit of progress to share with you by the next update on those smaller goals, and hopefully a lot more progress to share with you on those bigger goals. So that is all for my Pan That Palette update for this month. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give this video a quick thumbs up before you leave. It does help me out a lot. I really hope you're enjoying this Pan That Palette series and all of the satisfying progress that I get to share with you each and every update. It's a lot of fun for me. It's a great way for me to have perspective on how long it takes to go through an eyeshadow palette, how much product is really in here, and it really stops me from wanting to buy more eyeshadow palettes and bring things into my collection that I don't need when I have so many things that I can use and that I already love. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world. I'm sending my love out to you, and I cannot wait to see you in my next video. But until then, take care. Bye.